Johnny Byrne is my name if you haven't met me before, and together with the local enterprise office I facilitate the network every month, and I'm also co-founder of the Digital Business Institute. And this evening I just want to give you a very important topic in the whole area of marketing and education-based marketing, and as it says on the slide there, to this whole concept of give before you ask, rather than always trying to sell. So just very briefly, I've been training and mentoring in digital marketing since 2005, but in the last 2 years, particularly in the last 6 months, I've really immersed myself in the whole area of e-learning and online learning and open source courses and free courses and everything in between, and really just to basically try and get my courses online, which I launched a few last year, and to spend more time training and less time driving. So what is education-based marketing? Well, from researching it a lot over the last couple of months, the shortest summary that I can come up with is basically sharing knowledge to build trust. So to educate and to empower your existing customers and potential customers with information before you go for the sale. Okay. Anybody heard of the concept before, or familiar with the concept of education-based marketing? James? Colin, through your ebook work perhaps, or?
Yes, but not called that.
Sure. Okay. Okay, good. So the more kind of lengthy, not definition, but just from some of the research I've looked at, it's basically a marketing strategy to establish trust and credibility using educational messages, in contrast to traditional marketing, which uses selling-based messages. Okay, so really what we're trying to do here is build trust and build credibility. In fact, there's a great talk on TED Talks, if you're familiar with watching TED Talks, and the title of it is Trust is the Currency of the New Economy, or words to that effect. So basically, with all the advertising and all the marketing that comes at us these days, trust is becoming ever more important. And when Bernie mentions referral, there's a huge element of trust there, because what we're actually getting, or what Bernie is getting, is introductions to new customers from people that they trust, because Bernie, we can spend a lot of money marketing and everything else, but unfortunately it's hard to get trust across in traditional marketing. So that's what we're trying to do with education-based marketing, and a number of companies that have been doing it for quite some time in the US and here in Ireland as well, and in Europe. Home Depot, for one, for example, would run free kids workshops in their stores every Saturday, from how to build a birdhouse with your children to various other DIY type, if you like, courses, because DIY is a big part of what they do. So they bring in parents and children, they provide this free workshops and training, and you may leave with a new hammer or saw or whatever it might be as a result of the workshop. But first and foremost, what they're looking to do is provide this free education as opposed to direct marketing. You might, for example, also hear the ads for SMAmums.ie and SMA Know-How, and they provide a lot of free information for particularly mothers on parenting and pregnancy and all that whole area. They have worksheets you can download, or help sheets as they call them, and various other things, and videos. And they would put a lot of time and money into providing this resource. Fáilte Ireland, I've noticed recently as well, back in March, for example, they ran a webinar with a digital marketing company on email marketing. So they would contract somebody in, that specialist would deliver the training. Fáilte Ireland then would provide that knowledge-based training, use that for knowledge-based marketing to their audience, and to keep your B&Bs and your accommodation and various other services as customers of Fáilte Ireland. locally here, Yasmin spoke at our last network meeting. She's based here in Carrick-on-Shannon, and every Tuesday she would run a free hangout using Google Hangouts, where again she provides free consultancy and information using this technology as an opportunity to educate, so really to give before she asks. Of course, there are opportunities then through the training, which is provided for free, to mention products and services and consultancy and programs that she offers. But at the moment, that service is there for free every Tuesday morning, and that's just another more local example. So I didn't want people to think that, it's all about companies like Home Depot and SMA that have big marketing budgets. And we'll go through 4 different ways that we as business owners can actually create some education-based marketing of our own. Myself, I'm launching on the 11th of August a daily free training via webinar, 30 minutes or less depending on the topic. So the plan is every day to provide that service, and again it will be free education, but it will be marketing my business. There's no obligation to ever buy anything from me, but I'm using it there to position myself as somebody who knows this topic quite a lot. I'm also bringing out a new book later on the year, particularly for people, experts, coaches, consultants, knowledge providers, trainers, chefs, you name it, anybody that sells knowledge for a living. I'm developing this comprehensive book called Record Once, Sell Often, and I'm hoping to have that out later in the year. So a couple of options then to get this going, or where to start. Have we any questions so far on the examples, or have people seen other examples that they can think of?
You mentioned the lady doing the weekly online
Sure, yeah.
courses. For those of us who rely on a bad broadband,
Sure, yeah.
Can you come and do it here?
Yeah. I mean, you talk to Colm, who manages the building, and there's hot desk space, there's coffee spaces, or coffee dock spaces, and you can just tune in with your headphones and just listen in. Yeah.
I got your survey, about the different type of courses,
Yeah.
And I was sitting there filling it in, and I think, that's really interesting, and I was thinking, and I was going, and then I stopped. I didn't send it back. I said to myself, God, I mightn't actually buy any of these courses, then, and I would feel guilty. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to think,
Sure.
What could I buy then? And another thing on the other hand was, well, I suppose if I saw that, I'd be saying to other ones, my God, you should try Johnny like he has done A, B, and C. So I was still going to send back, and I said, well, maybe I shouldn't. So just the point that I'm making is,
Sure.
that even if people, kind of take an interest and say, I must listen to that tomorrow morning, you mightn't necessarily buy from you, but you're more inclined to say to other people after, that was brilliant, I see anything. If someone say to you, I'm in fierce trouble doing this or that.
Sure, yeah.
And
yeah.
so while the person themselves mightn't buy, you could get 4 or 5 orders from that.
Sure, and there is no obligation to buy, but the big challenge particularly in digital marketing and social media, but in general in business, it's a very crowded space, and we're fighting for the attention of all sorts of things in people's inboxes and stuff like that. So, we would follow experts in the US who are just really position themselves as experts by providing a lot of free content, and it's a model I'm going to try and follow. There is no obligation to buy, but I would hope there would be still a conversion rate, and time will tell what that will actually be. But I definitely take the input on board.
I'm not just saying that I wouldn't buy. I'm just afraid that there might
Yeah.
be something that I wanted to buy at the time.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of free content with never an obligation to buy, for sure. As I say, I'm just hoping the conversion rate will be financially feasible to keep it going. Yes, James.
I read a very good book there a number of years ago by Chet Holmes called The Ultimate Sales Machine, and he was sharing that at any given time there's about 3% of people that are ready to buy.
Sure.
So if you have a sales-based marketing, you're hitting people to try and sell something to them, and 97% of the people are not in a position to buy at all, and you're trying to sell to people that's not in that space. So the brilliant thing about education-based marketing is that you're just open up the market, that people will buy when they're ready to buy, not
Sure.
ready to sell. So
Yeah.
it opened that. It opened up the other 97%.
Yeah, and it's really, it's not a new concept if you think about it, like the try before you buy. I mean, we have people in the supermarkets, giving us, free food sometimes to try a new product because, they want us to try it, with no obligation to buy, but hoping that, a certain percentage of the people will actually buy.
Or the Kindle book is a good one. You have to get the first chapter.
Sure,
As a sample.
yeah, as a sample. Yeah, so it's not a particularly new concept. It's just, I think the technology, if you have the broadband, taking Colin's point on board, if you have the broadband, the technology makes education-based marketing more accessible to us than ever before. Okay, so where to start then? Well, one of the big places to start with all of this is to answer the questions being asked by your audience, by your customers and potential customers already. And that's what I'm trying to do with the survey that I've sent out, trying to get a sense of what are the big issues for people, what are the topics that are most popular that people will want to learn. And also, of course, answer the questions that mightn't necessarily be asked at all, but definitely start with the ones that are being asked, because there will also be other knowledge and information and answers that you will have that people will want. They just haven't thought to ask the question. And then from providing those answers, we can build trust. And remember, we're doing a huge portion of this for free. So there's, they really can try before they buy with no financial obligation whatsoever.
Do you know a thing I said, I forget if I don't say it, a thing I see in a lot of sites you go to, where you're getting information, that's useful information.
Yeah.
Then they say at the end, like, it costs something to have that information there. And if you just like to donate something, which would mean if you went down and looked at a webinar and you see, like, everyone can appreciate the time involved and there's a bit of work and there's a donate button,
Sure.
you could say, but you look at it, just like a tenner into it, like,
Yeah.
surely had to be worth
Yeah.
to me, like, or,
Yeah.
And then it kind of make up for, you wouldn't feel as bad if you weren't buying something in the immediate future, like, or...
Sure.
And people appreciate there's a cost with anything you do that takes time, I
Yeah.
think you're in the minority, Brendan, I don't think.
You're too nice, Bernie.
A lot of people would be donating.
Well, all these things are staying there, they're
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
clothes, like, I would
wish
probably
everyone
a
thought
couple of
that
euro,
they
like,
were going to be around, but I don't think it's...
Yeah, the research has shown that as soon as you ask for any money at all, however nominal it might be, the attitude changes completely, even if it's €1. Now, and I see donate buttons, and I see the creative industries doing it a lot, and they might have a track from their album, and you can donate to it and all that kind of stuff. And in a lot of cases that would work. Webinars are expected to be, in the majority, are expected to be free. There are people who charge for webinars to be viewed for sure, but they're a small minority. But by all means, that definitely is an option for sure.
Do you mind if I make a suggestion to you, John?
Sure.
This to me is really new. When you sent that email, I thought it was absolutely very, very interesting. And I do believe myself this is not something you'll be able to keep going unless in some way that you get some form of payment.
Yeah.
And I think that, like the likes of people, an awful lot of people at this stage would know you has been into this and all the rest of it.
Sure.
If you were offering a service like where you were saying to people, look at, if a direct debit from your credit card, from your debit card of €1 every month. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
That you can listen to, see all my webinars, get all of them free. Like, if you have 1,000 people that will give you €1 1 month.
Sure.
It can cover any costs that you may have in doing it, and it means you can keep them going and people can sort of,
Yeah. Well, the business model would be that that if 100 people watch, that 99 would buy. No, not 99, but maybe 10 would buy. I don't know. I'll have to see. It's around 3%, and then we have to see, of the 3% what I charge and what the course is. The other thing is that I'm going to keep the courses competitive, and I'm not going to be traveling. And the whole idea is that whatever we produce as business owners for free, the same as the people giving away free food in Tesco, they don't do that indefinitely, and they don't give you enough that you don't have to eat a dinner or whatever it might be afterwards. They give you enough so that you can try before you buy, and they know the numbers, and it works. So I'm going to provide it for free and hoping that a percentage will convert. Okay, so the other thing that we're trying to do with our education-based market then is remove any doubt that people might have from buying this particular product or service that we have. So if I'm buying your wedding stationery, is there going to be, is it going to be what I want? Is there going to be spelling mistakes? Is there, whatever it might be. So we educate people and we remove any fear or objections they might have from buying our product or service. So the first place to start, in my experience and following other people, who are doing this on a regular basis, the common denominator would seem to be with a lot of them. And you won't have, it won't be the first time you've heard me mention this topic. But blogging is still where it's at. Hi Orla. So one of the big things about blogging that has really come to the fore over the last 6 months is the changes that Google continue to make in terms of indexing websites. And one thing that they've categorically stated is that blogging still works. Other changes have been made because they for the most part, believe that blogging is still done by real people who are writing interesting articles, and they're getting lots of visitors and comments and interaction, and they've got the keywords and the key places and everything else. But that's fine for Google, and it's critical. But the other thing about blogging, of course, is that it does show, in terms of education marketing, that you know what you're talking about because you're blogging about it. So it services Google, but more importantly, it services the audience as well. So, very quickly, how do you get started with blogging? Well, there's a couple of experts here. I would suggest that you have a look at WordPress and set up a blog. And people then kind of, I've set up a blog, and then I go, what do I put on it? I'm not a writer and everything else. Well, the very simple solution in all of this is continue to answer the most frequently asked questions. And if you have to do a survey to get those questions, then do a survey. If 10 people do the survey and 4, 5, 6 of them have a common problem, then that's the first frequently asked question that you need to answer. And there could be a range of answers depending on the nature of the question. But the place to start is, what are your questions? What are your pain points? What is your pain point with Facebook? Is it Facebook ads? Is it Facebook itself? Should you be using it? Whatever the questions are. And then encourage questions. Constantly be asking for questions. And the questions are gold in terms of education marketing. Because if you don't know what questions they're asking, and sometimes we become blinkered in our knowledge. I know there's a saying I heard on the radio the other day about the curse of knowledge is we don't know the questions to answer or something like that. It's basically we're become so knowledgeable about our subject matter, we forget that there are people who don't actually know. So we should encourage questions all the time. And I mentioned having a survey, and then blog weekly, at least. And I know time is going to come into it and everything else, but if you make it a priority, you will have the time. But weekly is a great place to start. And then people might say, well, what about monthly or a couple of times a year? No, weekly, at least. 500 words or less. If you're knowledgeable about your topic, you will get faster at it and you will churn them out fairly quickly. What is actually stopping you from doing it is, oh, I'm not a journalist, or I'm not a writer, or I've never written a blog post before. But I can assure you, people have asked you questions about what you do. You've provided a very, very valuable answer. You just haven't written it into a blog post. We kind of get caught up in technology and, oh, it's a blog, therefore I can't write it or I can't deliver it. But the reality is you have it anyway. So the other way to get questions, which I'm starting to do too, taking the lead from Pat Flynn in Smart Passive Income, is using a free service, and there's a paid version as well called SpeakPipe, where basically people can go onto your account and literally start recording the question. Because you have to be mindful too that people are quite busy. But if you can make it very easy for them to leave you a voicemail by not even having to dial a phone, by just click start recording, of course they need a mic that's working. But most modern day computers and laptops will have one that's working. You click start recording and they just literally ask a question. So they don't have to spend time typing it up. And we can obviously speak an awful lot faster than we can type, and we can be more fluid as well. So that's a service that I'm beginning to use more and more often, and you get lots of great questions through it. The next one is consider writing an ebook. We have a couple of established authors here, but it's definitely something to consider as well. And where to start with an ebook is, one is again from your survey, what are the main points, the pain points that people are having. If the same questions keep coming up, then they become the chapters of your ebook, and each one can become a chapter. So if you have 5 common denominators that the same topic keeps coming up, how do you do this, how do you do this, how do you do this, then they are the 5 chapters or 10 chapters or whatever it might be of your book. Okay? And again, people get caught up in the technology of an ebook is some sort of magical thing. It's typed up in Word or Publisher or whatever word processing package you have, and it's saved as a PDF, and that's your ebook. It's not something magical because of there's some other technology involved. Colin is an expert in both offline and online publishing if you want to talk to him. Nuala has published her book as well, and did I miss anybody? Okay, the rest are coming soon. So you save it as a PDF. There are a couple of tips and tricks in terms of creating the PDF. Imagery is always good and stuff like that. So they are slightly a bit different than your fiction or non-fiction novel or whatever it might be, but they can still be done in Word or Publisher. And like the more modern versions or the latest versions of Microsoft Word and Publisher, they make it very easy. They provide templates and all sorts of stuff like that. And of course there's lots of companies out there where you can download ebooks just to get a look at, like I would follow HubSpot on digital marketing and social media, and their ebooks are really, really good just in their layout and design and everything else. So you can save it as a PDF, and you can give it away or you can sell it on sites like eJunkie. Okay, so I know education-based marketing is kind of give before you ask, but of course if it's a good book, you could definitely consider and should consider selling it using a service like eJunkie. And what's great about eJunkie is, like Bernie mentioned with her referral and affiliate program, is people who love the book could earn some money by sharing the link. So if I buy it through Own gets a piece of the profit. And because it's digital, there's no post, there's no packaging. I could give you 90% commission if you were a really good evangelist of my book. I can choose the commission. So that's definitely something to consider on the ebook side of things. The third of 4 options that I'm just going to cover is create a short online course. And again, resistance might show up for you and say, I'm not a trainer, I'm not a lecturer, I'm not a teacher. If you have knowledge that somebody wants, you are all of those things. So you can create a short online course. So how would you do that? Well, video is a key part of it. Your ebook could be kind of a short course, but really video is a key part. And the latest version of PowerPoint makes it very easy to create MP4 format videos. I think there's probably a number of formats in it where I could be recording this presentation and save it as a video and then put it up on, Paul mentioned udemy.com there, which is a marketplace for online courses. So you could use PowerPoint, at least the latest version of it, to create a short course. You could use free screen capturing software like Jing. It's a place to start, but you'd be moving on from there fairly quick. But again, you could use Jing just to capture what you do on screen to show people how to do administration or accounts, or use Photoshop in photography or whatever it might be. You also have Snagit then, which is €43 by the same company, TechSmith. I think it's come down in price. I don't think it was at 43 last year, but it's €43 including VAT, and it's a more advanced version of Jing where you can actually save a copy of the videos that you create onto your computer and then upload them to YouTube or Udemy or Vimeo or some of these online course platforms. One that I'm using quite a lot for training, I know Paul is looking at it as well, is Fedora, and the website is usefedora.com, and it's free to get your online course up there. And from free you can do a light version of free, and then you can go from there. Do you want to share the numbers from yesterday, Paul, when you changed your price?
Udemy, yeah, I changed to a free course, and
From
$47, and since yesterday I've had approximately, just checked there before the meeting started, 320 in what's that, about 26 hours.
What's the course?
Just there on fire.
Oh, this one.
It's,
Yeah.
just how to start your own online store, basically.
So the lesson there would be, in a big marketplace like that, there are people looking for this education. So you're going to put the price back from zero back up in time.
Just want to get it up and hopefully get a few reviews, and anyone who actually takes the course, I'd appreciate a review. Helpful, I definitely would. But just to get a bit of social proof with numbers and reviews, that would be, there's only 3 actual instructors that were using the Open Curtain software I use. One of them last time I checked in, he's dropped off. He had very bad English, not saying mine is perfect, but he was very hard to understand. But he had a 10-hour course, and I'd say maybe 5 of that was like hums and ahs and deep breaths and broken English. So similar course to mine, he was selling it for $10. Glad to see him go. But that said, he had only 5 customers at the time. So, I think it was the quality of this course as well. Just from that point of view, I just said I'd give it free, get the numbers up, and sort of be maybe seen to be the number one.
Okay.
Open card.
Okay, we'll be if we don't see you at the next meeting, we know you're in Barbados. So the next version up then, which I would use all the time, is Camtasia, again by the same company. It's €256 for the Windows version, and more recently they brought out a version for the Mac at €85, and it lets you do more advanced things. But again, what you're doing is you're capturing what's going on the screen, and then you're converting that into a video where people can watch you basically train them, teach them how to do something. I've also started using Paul's tripod that he let me borrow about 6 months ago. I hope you're not charging by the day, but there's a little clip then that holds the iPhone. The clip's about €20 onto a standard tripod. Unfortunately, you cannot plug a microphone directly into an iPhone. I haven't tried it with a Samsung actually. So this device is €35. But what it allows you to do in reasonable lighting is attach your phone to the tripod and the microphone, stand with the microphone out of focus, out of view. Thank you. Out of view, and then you can start to make more, maybe a flip chart and you in a type training, or you're delivering something. They're delivering more kind of, I guess, for coaching and courses like that, where it's not on screen and it's really all about you and the delivery of your knowledge through the camera. There's also present.me, which allows you to record the video and the PowerPoint and put the two of them together on the one screen. So people are watching the PowerPoint and watching you. So it's good for maintaining their attention. So they're switching from the PowerPoint to you and back. So some of you are looking at me now, some of you are looking at the PowerPoint presentation, and that will change. So, people get bored. And that's one thing about online courses, you really have to up how you keep people engaged, because you're expecting them to look at this little box for 30 minutes, and there's so many other things they could be doing, like being on Facebook or whatever it might be. So, but a smartphone with an external mic, the mic's a little bit expensive. Just happens to be the one I got is about $250 US, but so maybe €200-ish. There are probably cheaper ones. You can use your headphones. I've actually cut the headphones off a spare pair of mine just above the mic and pin the headphones that comes with your smartphone to your shirt, and that provides a great great audio as well. You're just limited by the length of the lead, but that's another option. And I see again Pat Flynn, who I admire quite a lot. You know, sometimes he's just talking into the camera with the headset on, so it saves you having to buy the mic. Paul?
We've got a really good set of Logitech headphones for £16 sterling on eBay and Amazon, I think it was.
Sure.
Most of this course is created with those.
Yeah, and the audio is great. Yeah, and Camtasia allows you to up the levels and cut out the background noise as well.
You might find that if you're taking the course and looking at it, there might be different sounds, and one might be a bit tinny, and that was me after making the video with a different setting. So you just have to play around with your settings. The microphone with each different bit of software might just sound different, and there's so many settings, but you could experiment with that before you'd actually go recording your stuff live. But I just did it the easier way.
Well, you also do what Sharon did and get a fully fledged professional videographer into her kitchen and produced excellent quality results on that for the DVD and for the Halloween Ghost video you may have seen. So of course that is another option, but for getting going and creating a short free course, trying to keep the costs down. The fourth option, which it's proven really, really popular, and I've been a fan of listening to podcasts for maybe 10 years now, but never so much as in the last couple of months. I call them Seminar in a Car. I have a little unit that you can play the podcast to the car of top experts in this area, where we pay a lot of money to go to see them in London or further, and they give us all this free useful information. So it's worth considering again, if you're, of course we're quite knowledgeable in what we do, to share that expertise just through audio by setting up a podcast. So there's a number of options there with the audio, again with a headset that you might have anyway for making the other videos, or a smartphone, or plug a microphone if you happen to have that into the smartphone, just to make it even clearer, a USB microphone. You get the podcasts up on iTunes. It's critical that you give them a title and the keywords that people are looking for, so whatever those keywords are. And then a lot of people playing around with SoundCloud now, because if you put the SoundCloud audio up, for example, on Facebook, it plays within Facebook, so people it doesn't launch iTunes and all this kind of stuff. They can play it on Twitter as well, and SoundCloud have a great app as well. So people are really, really loving SoundCloud for its ability to be shared and to be listened to within the social networks. And also Audioboo, which I use on the smartphone as an app. You can have 5 minutes for free, but again it helps you with the whole iTunes side of it. So you register with Audioboo. It's an app on the phone, and you might go for a walk where it's quiet and just literally share some of your profound knowledge with people and use it through Audioboo, and then when you get back to Wi-Fi, just hit send and it does all the iTunes and everything else for you. Okay, and then a huge opportunity with all of this is to repurpose the content in various formats to get it out to as many people as possible. So one example would be that Brendan Burchard, who wrote a number of bestsellers, The Millionaire Messenger, and what was the last one, James? Charge, yes. So his podcast is just the audio from videos. He's more into producing videos, but you can listen to the audio from the video in your car, because you don't want to be watching the video in the car, through his podcast. Some people would take their ebook and then get it a voiceover and get it read, and then break that into, if there's 10 chapters, maybe 20, 30 weeks worth of podcasting. So, and the other way around, you can take the audio from your video and turn it into a manual or turn it into an ebook. So there's various ways, very cost-effective ways of repurposing whatever content, whatever knowledge you have, whatever format you start with. You can do 3 or 4 of the formats relatively quickly. Okay? So then all of this leads back to great content for your blog. Okay, so you start with blogging, but as you get more comfortable with producing the knowledge, producing the education, it becomes great content for the blog. Okay? So the last one then is to consider hosting a webinar, which is really an online seminar, or a hangout, taking the term from Google Hangouts. And it's basically a free online broadcast. In fact, this has been streamed right now. It's the next version on, I guess, from doing a webinar is to actually broadcast the meeting. So, and that service is available here for hire for anybody who wants to consider, you know, for their training, for their coaching, if they're getting into knowledge-based marketing and they want to deliver it out into the World Wide Web, then that's an option. We are getting mats here that when you stand on the map, or the mat even, it shows the PowerPoint presentation to the viewer, and when you get off the mat, it goes back to me. So again, you have that almost live editing and live production going on. So Sharon, you can bring in the kitchen sink. So again, that's even a more advanced version of a webinar, I guess. So the options available is, one, you can be on camera. That's what Yasmin does. She puts on her headset, she looks into the laptop camera, or you can buy a USB camera, and she just delivers her coaching and training via Google Hangouts. The other option then is to share what you have on screen. So this PowerPoint presentation will be open, and then in Google Hangouts or whatever webinar or technology that you're using, you just share what's on screen. So if you want to give people, 5 tips on getting unstuck in your life, you open it up in PowerPoint, you start your webinar, and you share that screen, and they can hear you and they can see what you're presenting. Okay? They can actually ask questions, and there's various other technologies built on top of that, like Webinar Jam, which is something that I'm using for webinars. You can also screen share literally anything that you have on your screen. So if you're showing somebody how to navigate around your website, or if you want to show people an insight into how the online course works, you can share that screen as well. Or if you're selling software, you can share how the software works. Again, it's back to educating and empower people as part of your marketing. They can try before they buy with no travel, because they're looking from their own computer. There's no financial obligation. It's just a really, really good way to let them try before they buy. And of course then there is the option of automated webinars, which are getting quite popular as well. So you never say they're a live event, but basically what you do is you record your 20 or 30 minute webinar in advance. You perfect the audio, you perfect the content. If there's a sales pitch at the end, you perfect that. Maybe you try it a few times, and you put the recording into the automated webinar service, and then it happens like a real webinar. People, register for 6 o'clock. It starts automatically. You're not even there. It plays for 30 minutes. You just suggest that they have questions, that they email them in. It ends at 6:30. But again, they're still getting the knowledge. You can, like I mentioned, then stream a live course like we're doing here and streaming this presentation. There was 15 people, I think, at the last meeting physically, but there was 55 sessions open, 55 viewers of the meeting online. So maybe next month I'll just be here on my own, and you'll all be viewing in from somewhere nice. And of course you can record them and make them available for viewing and for marketing over and over.
Have you any way of knowing who kind of watches in, like, have you,
No. We can get IP addresses and kind of narrow it down, but unless we start...
On live, but on webinars, yes.
On webinars, sorry, yes. On live, no. On live, no.
Yeah, because when I signed into Sligo IT there,
Yes.
they knew who I was, that I could ask questions.
Yeah, well you must have registered then.
Why did you?
Yeah, but there's no registration for
None for
this particular event. We just
right.
provide we've only provided the link to network members. So, but maybe it's been shared. I know I mentioned it on Twitter, so Yeah, there you go. So, but when we have the donate button at the bottom for these meetings, we will know who made the donations or who didn't more. So then for your webinar, choose your topic. I would suggest, although there's webinars that go on for an hour and a half, I would be suggesting 30 minutes or less, including time for questions and answers. Choose your delivery method. So is it webinar? Is it Google Hangout? Is it live streaming? Obviously choose a date and time. And ideally you would have a call to action at the end. And this is where you get into earning some money from your webinar. So the first webinar I did at James's kitchen table up the road, because the Hive wasn't open at the time. I think it was a 30-minute webinar, 30 Facebook tips in 30 minutes. And I had 4 sales of that course before I got up from the table at €97 a course. So approximately €400 worth of sales out of that half an hour webinar. Okay, you need to, obviously they went a couple of hours into prepping for the webinar, etc., etc. So, you know, I think 86 people registered, and I think maybe 30 plus actually turned up, and 4 sales, and it was frighteningly close to the industry average of 30 to 40% of those who registered turning up, and approximately 10% of those buying. So 95% of statistics are not made up on the spot. So in summary, it really is a game changer when you see big brands doing and small companies being very successful with it. It's just never has been as hard to sell and to market to people as it has been now. We're just loaded with information. It's very hard to be different. So you will really stand out if you educate first, until it becomes the norm, and then there'll be something else. But it might be some time. The big reason that it might be some time before it becomes the norm is people find it, you know, somewhat of a challenge. But I think with hopefully these useful insights and some other information, you'll definitely try and give it a go. You already have the knowledge. You just mightn't think you do because, I haven't enough knowledge to blog or write a book, but you know you have. You have. If you've answered questions that customers have asked, then you have the knowledge. If they've asked, other people want to know as well. Other people have those questions, and there's loads where that came from as well. So as you become more confident in doing it, you can learn more yourself by doing online courses yourself. So one of the webinars that I'm running in the next couple of weeks is called Earning from eLearning. So as we, when we run out of knowledge, if we ever do, there's lots of, through eLearning, there's lots of access to quite, inexpensive / free courses where we can up our knowledge and again turn that into the next version of our course. So leave you with a quote. In order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. So when people latch onto your expertise, there is a huge opportunity for you to be irreplaceable to them. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.